Is it just me, or does everything seem kind of crazy and overwhelming? I graduated college in 2020, and after that, I had this huge weight lifted off my shoulders as I now had so much free time to kind of do what I wanted, besides the whole working a full-time job thing. But as time has gone on, my plate has gotten more and more full, and maybe that's just like a shared sentiment as you become more of an adult over time. In order to combat this, I've had to develop some kind of minimalist ways to actually stay productive to make sure I'm doing the things I actually need to do. So in this video, I'm gonna share my minimalist productivity strategy that I try to use that's very kind of low touch for all the different things that I do. So that includes like YouTube, all of the game development stuff that I work on, some other side projects, my full-time job at Google that I have, maintaining a social life, exercise is a big thing for me as well, everything. And these strategies I've actually been able to stick with and therefore have been probably the most beneficial. Now there's a huge productivity niche on YouTube from creators like Ali Abdaal and Matt D'Avella, and they have literally so many great videos on this exact topic, and they're some of my favorite creators. Maybe it's just me, but throughout all of these different videos, and I usually watch like a ton of them, I've found a lot of the tactics that they mention are kind of hard to stick to, at least for me. Again, I love these creators and they make amazing videos, but for some reason I always just had a hard time sticking to the structures or systems that they kind of highlight. And for some context, I work full-time at Google, so that's like my 9-to-5 job as a technical program manager. I also regularly work on my indie game Castlemancer, and most of my recent YouTube videos have actually been about that. I have my own business called Rainy Sunday that the game and the YouTube channel are both connected to. Again, I take fitness pretty seriously, so I plan workouts and meals and all of this while trying to maintain a social life too. So with all this stuff, it can definitely get overwhelming. First, one of the main strategies that I think actually works for me is physically writing things out. And I usually use this tactic specifically when I have to think through a specific process, or if I'm trying to solve some sort of like programming or like finance problem. And this is not to say that I like physically write out like my calendar or anything, or, you know, notes for the day or goals. Those are all tactics that have been highlighted in previous videos, not on this channel, but on other YouTube channels. But honestly, most times I'm finished writing down, I either never look at that paper again, or I toss it, or it just stays in my notebook. But the physical act of just writing out whatever's in my head and just working throughout whatever problem it is, or if I'm trying to figure out timing of something, whatever it is, just dumping it all on a page is super beneficial. Again, you don't even have to keep the notes. It's more of just like the process of trying to free up a lot of that mental real estate. For more formalized bookkeeping, I like Notion, so I keep some things and some dates in a Notion page, but I use a super bare bones like template. You can get really, really deep with some very complex Notion templates and automations, and a lot of other productivity YouTubers go through a lot of great tutorials on how to do that. But for me, the bar to just set up the Notion template or the page, or you can buy it, just seemed kind of not worth it for the value I was actually getting out of it. And again, this isn't like a daily template thing that I'm using. It's usually just to either track YouTube video ideas or, you know, monthly type things. If you want to track more of a minute kind of day-to-day schedule, I would suggest Google Calendar. So I used this tactic in college, and it was actually super beneficial, so I didn't have to remember off the top of my head like when certain exams were, when I had to go to specific classes, where they were, or when certain homework assignments were due. Now this next strategy might be a divisive one, but I actually found I work better in public spaces than just in my apartment or in my room. Some people are the complete opposite, where they focus really well at home and then kind of get distracted out in public. I find that if I can do work at a coffee shop, everything just flows a lot better. I always feel a lot more productive, surrounded by people that are also, you know, I think being productive. I also just like seeing people, so it kind of gives me a lot of energy just to see people working. But if you haven't tried it, I highly suggest it, because I didn't really discover this until after I graduated college. Where in college, I was very used to just sitting in my room and studying alone. And then as I got to my senior year and then eventually graduated, I realized that I actually like being kind of in an environment that a lot of people are also doing work in. Another strategy I want to highlight that might seem counterintuitive is actually giving yourself the space and time to be unproductive. I truly believe that if you're trying to be like non-stop productive, that you'll eventually just burn out. It's almost like an inevitability. And that's kind of the optimizing function for productivity systems, at least this one, which is to avoid burnout. There are some days or weeks where I literally want to do nothing. It's almost like dieting, where if you do a super strict diet, it's very, very hard to stick to that for a long period of time. It might be beneficial in the short term and you might accomplish some goals in the short term, but you want to be productive for a long time. So allowing yourself that cheat meal or allowing yourself a less restrictive diet now and again definitely I think helps you keep to any sort of system for a longer period of time, just for the fact that you avoid burnout for longer. Now, increasing your productivity is one way to level up, but another way is with this video's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is the best way to learn math, data science, and computer science interactively. Now, I studied math and computer science in college, and trust me, Brilliant is not like those boring lecture halls I had to endure. Brilliant is fun and interactive with thousands of lessons from basic to advanced topics, with new lessons added every month. And let's say you're really busy one week. Well, Brilliant is made for busy people like you and me. They customize content to fit your specific needs and let you solve them at your own pace. And ultimately, it's just a really great tool to advance your career. So by watching this channel, you get a little bit of an extra special discount. You can get started free for 30 days, and the first 200 people to visit and sign up with my URL will get 20% off. So visit brilliant.org/biteofmichael. Thank you to Brilliant for supporting the channel. Ultimately, those are some of the actual low-touch strategies that I use to try to stay productive as I can throughout all of the different things that I've been juggling. And for me, I try to keep it as minimalist and non-invasive as possible, because again, the best productivity system is the one that you can actually stick to. And I've tried many other systems or strategies or tools that other productivity YouTubers have talked about or highlighted, but I always ended up stopping them at some point just because they either didn't really fit into my routine, I just didn't feel like I was getting the benefit, and they were taking more headspace away from the actual thing that I wanted to work on. So that was a major thing for wanting to make this video. What are some strategies that I've learned that actually help me do the things I need to do without requiring so much effort to maintain some automation or like some crazy productivity system that requires a lot of effort up front to be valuable? So I hope you found this video useful, and I'm curious on what sort of productivity strategies that you have found that either keep you productive or help avoid burnout in the long term. So please comment them down below. That's all from me. We do a bad British accent at the end of every video. If you like computer science, tech, game development, career advice, consider giving me a subscribe. That's all from me, and hopefully I see you in another one. Bye-bye.